It's the Leadership Toolbox series from Stress-Free Executives. I'm Muted Adebole. So what's in our Leadership Toolbox today? It's building our empathy muscle. As a leader, in particular, we talk a lot about empathy. Everybody knows about empathy, but unfortunately, there is not much done, even though we understand what empathy is, putting ourselves in other people's situation, you know, understanding where they're coming from, showing willingness to help, and understanding their feelings even when they are not spoken. We know all of this. But what happens after we know this? Okay, I volunteer in a project that works with ex offenders and families of offenders, and it just couldn't drive it home more to me that we need to be a lot more empathetic with the way we manage people around us, workplaces, your team members, your colleagues, and the people we get to meet. The problem we have with empathy is because we just think that it's about the other person, about understanding their feelings, about understanding their situation, where they're coming from, and willingness to help, or just showing them that, yes, I know where you're coming from. Empathy is not just about the other person, it's more about you than the other person. If you do not practice self empathy, if you do not understand yourself, if you cannot identify your feelings, okay, if you cannot spell out who you are, be a little bit more self aware. How are you going to be able to understand other people's feelings? And even when you do, and you do not understand that, when you identify your feelings and what you're going through within yourself, you need to take action and take some responsibility to make the change to happen. It's very impossible for you to understand other people's feelings to the point that you're going to make that change happen, which is where we have problems with empathy. Okay. So, the first things you want to do with empathy is you want to focus on serving other people and contributing. Okay. You also know that you have to listen for the little signals that people bring, even when they're not speaking about it. Okay, but where we have problem with empathy is stirring that change. Okay, so you know all of these things about other people. You can put yourself in that situation and imagine you going through what they're going through. So where is the change happening? Okay, so empathy is about taking that action to make that change to happen, taking that action to help to that person to get out of that situation or to know more. Empathy necessarily doesn't mean you have to agree with somebody else's resolution, decision, standpoint, but it's just the awareness of where they're coming from and how you can now step in to make that change happen, even if it's just pointing them to what they can do to make the change happen. So the most important thing about empathy now that I'm talking about is making that change happen. It's useless and worthless if you just understand somebody else's situation, or you have that willingness to help, or you have, that effective listening skill that even when they're not saying nothing, when they're not looking at you, the body language can tell you what they're going through, what they're feeling within them. But if you're not taking any action, what's the point? So, what action do you take to build your own empathy muscle? Because it's not just about knowing, it's about doing. What do you do to strengthen you as somebody who is empathetic as a leader? So, what you can do is actively call for change. And how to do that will depend on individual circumstances. Okay, so from now on, ask yourself, what am I doing right now to bring about the change that is needed for my people to grow? For example, what am I doing right now to bring about the change that is needed for my talents to be the best of themselves? What am I doing, or what can I do now to ensure that all of my team members succeed as individuals, aspiring individuals? Okay, so ask yourself the questions so that it motivates you to actually take that action that you need to take so that that change will be something everybody begins to see. And until I see you again, you keep being the best of who you are.